Welcome back to the Goldmine Podcast. This is editor Patrick Prince. In this episode, we'll talk to Gord Sinclair, bassist of the Tragically Hip, and we'll discuss the Canadian band's The Tragically Hip No Dress Rehearsal documentary, which recently won TIFF's People Choice Award for documentaries in Toronto. And the Tragically Hip also released the 40th anniversary of their Diamond Certified debut album called Up to Here, which is now being reissued by UME as a deluxe box set in a 4 LP and 3 CD format. It includes extras like live performances and unheard tracks and the rest, but we also will touch on the late frontman Gord Downey and how he would have appreciated this documentary and expanded edition. So we'll be right back with Tragically Hip's bassist Gord Sinclair after this message.
Hey.
Hey, Gord, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Pat?
Can you hear me? Yep,
I can, yeah.
Well, anyway, it's good to talk to you, man. How was the screening at TIFF of the documentary?
It was really good. Thanks. We were a little shocked when they threw the idea that they wanted to screen all 4 episodes at once, with the intermissions. We thought, wow, that's a lot. People are going to walk out after the first hour, but that was our level of confidence, right? But it was a great success. People seemed to have really enjoyed it and taken to it. So it's good. Hats off to Mike Down. He did a wonderful job.
And getting it on Prime is a major score. Prime Video.
Yeah, that was great. They approached us. I was one of the first people that Mike pitched when he had the idea, and they've been nothing but amazing through the whole process. Just super supportive and principally hands off. And when they did get involved, their suggestions were really, really strong, and Mike took them all to heart. And yeah, it's been a pretty easy relationship.
Is it emotionally draining for a documentary you to be the subject, one of the subjects? It's got to be.
Yeah.
Making it and then seeing it.
The whole process has actually been really quite draining. I mean, when Mike first came to us with the idea, he was very explicit. He didn't want to do like a puff piece, like the Tragically Hip goes to the beach,
right.
And he really wanted, like, we've known Mike as long as we've known Gord. He moved into Kingston from Amherstfield with the Downey family, and he knows all the ins and outs and the challenges that we've faced, just like any relationship that goes on for 40 years. And he wanted to present that, in a sensitive way. So he would pull us aside when he wanted to talk about something that was not going to be easy to talk about. The death of my brother is a good example. And, but I was willing to speak to him about that because I trusted him, what he was doing documentary wise. And it was important for his story arc, but yeah, it forced us all to kind of go back to, man, a lot of boxes we'd packed up in the basements and attics of our brain, and find them and unpack them and go through all this stuff again and to get it out. And I think we're all kind of still in the process of packing a lot of that stuff back up, but all in all, it's been really healthy. The response and the appreciation that people have watched it have been expressing to me, it makes it all worthwhile. It's an interesting story that we were able to keep the group together for such a long period of time. And it wasn't because we were like the monkeys living in the treehouse and goofing around all the time. I mean, we had some heavy shit and we had to deal with it.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know, maybe we'll get a job as career counselors or motivational speakers or something after.
You could see in the documentary's testimonials that you could read your faces how emotional you felt.
Yeah. I mean, it was just really, really heavy, I mean, we had lots and lots of challenges over the course of our career, and obviously we're still reeling from the biggest challenge that we faced as a group and as a group of friends. You know, we lost one of our crew. And like I say in the film, I would give it all back. If he could be back with his kids and we could be just having a beer and watching a ball game on TV, but that's life, right? There's five of us and we've been together for a long period of time and it just catches up with you after a while, this life on the road stuff. And it's just a real shame, especially for his family.
Well, it seemed like there was sort of turmoil in the band before Gord was diagnosed with brain cancer, and ironically, it kind of pulled you together. We were a really close, tight knit group when we first started playing together. All friends, right? I mean.
Yeah, we were pals, and we'd known each other before we put the band together, and obviously touring in Canada, the long distance travel, especially when you're starting out, you're all in the confines of a van, and you learn how to get along. There's not a lot of room for a dick when you've got five people in a van driving across Ontario. It takes 24 hours to get out of our province. So, and it's funny, it's kind of a long-standing trope in Canadian music, but there have been a lot of bands that have broken up before they ever got to the Ontario-Manitoba border. They just couldn't handle the confines and we were lucky. We never ran out of stuff to talk about over 40 years. It got, it morphed into talking about hockey and music and girls to politics, and we always evolved. Our friendship always evolved, and we were really, really fortunate, and I miss it. I miss the hang time with the guys. I'm still in touch with all of them, obviously, except for Gordy. But I miss it. I miss that camaraderie a lot.
Yeah, fans always wonder, why can't bands just stay together? Why can't they just get back together? But it's like a marriage, right? Like a Mormon marriage.
It's right. Exactly. It's like, you kind of look at, wow, I got to spend the rest of my life with you. Whose idea was that? It's like any relationship. It's like any friendship. You gotta work at it, and then you throw in. Not only did we have a successful small business together, and all the responsibilities that goes along with running that business, but it was a creative business, and we were never going to stay 22, 23 years old the rest of our lives. And I think that was one of our real strengths, that we evolved as people and we were evolved as musicians and songwriters. But it doesn't necessarily mean we all evolved at the same time on the same path. One guy wanted to be a poet, and thought that the melodic structure of a song should be based around the words first, as opposed to maybe the melody should come first and the words fit in that. And that's the kind of stuff that we talked about a lot and tried to accommodate everybody. But those are some of the challenges that we faced, just the creative cart and donkey kind of arguments and what should drive this. And then, we're all writers. And we get to the point of trying to pick what songs should go on records and what songs should be left off records. And we had some drag down fights over stuff like that. But, like any successful relationship, we always attempted to not go to bed angry with each other. We tried to put a lid on it, and it was good. Plus, we had five of us, right? So there was always a referee, and there was always little factions. And anyway, we learned how to navigate each other pretty well.
Creatively, it's almost easier to be a painter, right? To choose the colors yourself instead of democracy.
That's exactly it. If you can imagine, it's not much different than being, trying to paint a picture with five guys, and you go out for lunch and come back, and your mountain landscape is turned into an abstract kind of thing. It's just like, man, really? But you muddle through,
Was there footage in the documentary that you had never seen before?
Yeah, there was tons of stuff,
Oh.
tons and tons of stuff. In fact, Mike and Amazon really put a premium on tracking down stuff that people had not seen. Like we're really, really fortunate. Like our hardcore fan base are really hardcore. They, they're YouTube and stuff and stuff that's been available. So Mike didn't want to keep rehashing. We're also fortunate enough that we were being filmed doing different things, whether it's a video shoot or our Much Music, which was our version of MTV up here. We did a lot of work with them, and there was a lot of stuff that was just on people's shelves and over 40 years, and Mike and his team, and they were unbelievable tracking down some of that stuff and securing the rights for it and stuff like that. It was so it was great. It was I mean, it's like anything. It has its pitfalls. It's like watching a 4-hour version of your high school yearbook, and there's some stuff that's just very cringeworthy. Like some of the hairdos were just mind-boggling, right? But what are you going to do? I blame my friends that should have told me I had a stupid lid back in the 80s,
It's one particular piece of footage was the SNL I'd never seen. What was it like being on SNL? Did you get it? You got SNL in Canada, right?
Yeah.
So you liked it?
It was as big a cultural icon in Canada as it was in the States. Like it was a big deal.
So being introduced by Dan Aykroyd, wow.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was as nerve-wracking a thing as a group that we'd ever been through. Like even the dress rehearsal for it in the afternoon was like, it was mind-boggling. Like I'm sure you've been on sets before, but it's incredible the number of people that are running around working while you're standing up on stage. It's not like being in your safe little rehearsal space where it's you and your engineer. Like there's tons of people, and it's live, it's just like we do. So it's the time is very rigorous. And I remember we were given an allotted amount of time for the two songs that we were doing, and both of them were way over length. So we basically spent the day before trying to figure out how to make Grace 2, a 5.5 minute song into a 4.5 minute song, and what bits we were going to try to edit, and then to try to nail it while we're performing it like that. A song that we played 1,000 times before, and now we're playing it in a new kind of way. So it was quite nerve-wracking for sure. And then you factor in like, wow, I wonder how many people are going to be watching this thing.
Yeah, a lot.
And a lot. I mean, we played to more people that night than we probably ever had in our entire career, but it was fun. I like to think we rose to the occasion, and I thought we played real good, and I mean, we certainly were Ashley Simpson, that's for sure.
Did you get to hang out with some of the cast, or?
Yeah, we did. They have a party every night after the show, and Dan we knew really well from home, and yeah, it was pretty cool. Like, the cast were also down to earth. Looking back, it was Farley and Adam Sandler, and they were all just really nice guys, fun to have a pint with afterwards, and
right.
And kind of at the start of their careers, like we were, and like it's one of those, hey, see you down the road type of things. And God, that so many members of the cast from that, Janine Garofalo, they all went on to these huge careers, iconic careers.
Right.
It was really fun. It was a great experience.
Well, Aykroyd seemed like a fan of the band.
Yeah, he lives part of the time up here, just north of town, and such a great music guy. He's the real McCoy with his encyclopedic knowledge of blues. And we had always kind of hit it off really well with him. A bunch of the guys we hung around with as when we were kids coming up. Kingston's always been a great live music town, like kind of a corner bar, blues bar kind of spot. It's impossible not to run into like-minded souls, and he is very much a like-minded soul in terms of music, for sure.
Well, when we interviewed your guitarist, Rob Baker, he said that he enjoyed playing small clubs as much as any festivals. Do you share that?
Yeah, very, very much so. I mean, to me, that's where the vibe really is. Certainly that's what we grew up with, right, in our hometown. We have a local hockey rink, kind of a CHL-sized rink, and had for years, but it was very rare that we would get an arena band through. And that was a big deal when it happened. But to me, I cut my teeth seeing bands play live, and that's really what Canada, touring Canada, is kind of all about. That's how you learn how to do it. And it's not a word of a lie. You can't work a day job if you want to be a professional musician in this country. It's just impossible. You got to go out on the road. You have to play on a Monday night and a Tuesday night and a Wednesday night in some place that they've never heard of you before. And that's always in a bar, and you got to get up there and deliver, right? And that's how we kind of cut our teeth doing it. And I've always looked at groups that at that level, can these guys actually play, guys and gals? I use that ubiquitously. Can they play? Can they stand up there and deliver? Can they break from the script and improvise and jam? And that's, to me, that's about clubbing it. It's like, and it doesn't matter the type of music, it's rock bars or jazz clubs or, that's really my jam. And that's what I loved about playing the States. We got to play these fantastic rooms, like Fillmore West or, Webster Hall in New York City, places that everybody's played over the years, and you can feel the vibe in there, and it attracts an audience that's into that live music experience, so to me, that's what it's all about.
From your experience, do you think there's a big difference from the Canadian music scene to American music scene?
Yeah, there is. We're so spread out, right? At the end of the day, there's maybe 12 major markets in the country that an American band would maybe consider playing. The bigger you get, you're only going to come to Toronto or Montreal. Right. In the States, it's so much more regional, and people kind of groups that were kind of at our level when we were coming up, they would have great regional success, but would be less inclined to travel the whole country than we were, because you could work a day gig. If you're living in New York, you can have a day gig and play to 110 million people and only drive 3-4 hours, right? In Canada, 3-4 hours, that gets you to the end of one of the Great Lakes. That's about it. So it's really, really different. It's just a totally different vibe. And once you get the opportunity to play down there, you kind of recognize that it's not just about packing up the van and getting up there and playing. You have to break in to the regional market, the municipal market first, then the region, and then maybe get a shot at doing something on a national level, and it's a lot of work, again, we've been very fortunate over the course of our career, and a lot of great American bands that we came up with, for whatever reason, had problems cracking the American market too. It's tough, and so, we count ourselves nothing but fortunate to have the exposure that we did down south.
Well, it always seemed odd to me that some bands that are huge in Canada weren't as much in America. Author Martin Popoff would sometimes tell me about a band, and I'd be like, "Who?" And
Yeah.
he'd be like, this band was big in Canada. It's kind
Yeah.
of weird because it's only a border separating us, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a funny border. It's a funny border, and it's something that we grew up with. Uh, as a nation, I would say. Pierre Trudeau the elder, our current prime minister's dad, said you have, when you sleep next to an elephant, right? You have to be very cautious of all the grunts and when they roll over, right? And that's basically what living in Canada is like. We have, a 15th of the population, yet principally all our culture and everything that we do comes from across the border. And we're trying to find our own voice as, with the same population as there's probably more people that live in New York State than live in all of Canada, So it's a very real thing. It's an invisible border. I mean, some of my closest friends are in the States, and the country are like it. But it's a real big brother, little brother relationship, and there's no denying who the big brother in the relationship is.
Is there a Canadian band that you looked up to growing up, or you looked up to now?
Yeah, there were a number. Obviously, Rush were a really important group in our youth. They came up the same way we did, playing like literally high school dances, and that was the first show that most of the guys in my group saw, playing the little local hockey rink. And then when you're 13, 14 years old, and a group like that comes, and then you actually see them play. These guys could play, and the power was undeniable coming off the stage. And I count them as friends, but I still get goosebumps when I talk about them as performers and stuff. And they really did it the right way. I like to think that we followed in their footsteps, because you either learn how to play, and you learn how to treat every night like it's a Saturday night and entertain the folks that are there, or you should be doing something else. I think it's a big factor why there's so many great Canadian comedians. That they're on the same work grind that we are. It probably even worse because they got to do it by themselves. But you either fall in love with it and have to do it, or you go to grad school and quit and find something else to do. But that dedication to the art form and the performance, I mean, that's a big deal for us, for sure.
Can you believe, now changing gears a little bit, can you believe, 35 years up to here, you're celebrating? Yeah. Seemed like not so long ago. And I always thought of, I guess it's an EP, I always thought of that as a debut album, but...
Up to here, that was our first crack. I mean, that was a real LP. And that was the major label debut and all that stuff like that. It's hard to believe. It literally seems like yesterday, in so many ways. It was such an exciting time. We were album guys, grew up listening to records, and flipping the records. So this harkens back to like pre-CDs and pre-Walkmans.
Well, Rob Baker says he's a huge record collector, which is good.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, that's still my method of listening as well. Yeah. That the physical engagement of getting up and flipping the thing over, and you're not fast forwarding through tunes. So that, to me, it's the perfect format, because it allows you to go deep on groups. And we've all bought records that have one or two good songs and the rest is crap. But I'm an album band guy,
you have more of a personal relationship with the band than some Ghost in the Machine MP3, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I just yearn for those days to be back, where reading liner notes that the journalist had taken time to write, and you're just, it's a real engagement now. Now kids have got an album playing in one iPod and podcast in the other, and they're vacuuming and talking to their buddy on the phone and doing a crappy job at all of it. I like to engage when I listen.
And they call guys like us boomers. Yeah, I know.
I'm dating myself for sure. But
well, anyway, thanks so much. I'm being pinged here that 25 minutes is up. So.
Yeah. Well, listen, I appreciate your time, man, and your attention to the project. It means a lot to us.
And congratulations with the documentary.
Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Pat.
Thank you. Talk soon.
Talk to you soon, man.
Bye.
Bye now.